Heart Zen practice period. Whether you're in it or not, you're in it because you're here. Some of us have made more formal declarations, but we'll all just keep investigating our hearts. With the koan, what is freedom? When we say, may all beings be free, may all beings be free, what is it we mean? What is this? What is freedom, this word that we banter around? What is it to be free in our hearts and minds and bodies? What is it for those who are in war zones or in prisons, suffering from injustice, in climate change? What is it that we're, I guess we could say, aspiring to for ourselves and for all beings? And it has been passed down across the generations. We have these wonderful Zen stories, koans. And I would guess or know that not all of us think that the koans are wonderful. They can seem obscure and confounding. And what are they doing anyway? And why are these usually old guys doing stuff? And so I am hoping that we can make these alive and relevant. Actually, I deeply trust that we can. We'll be using the traditional sources, the Mumon Khan and the Blue Cliff Records and the Book of Serenity and the Hidden Lamp. More recently, stories of women brought forward. But the koans are always, or almost always, about human beings, two human beings in communication. Sharing, turning the Dharma together, sharing, turning their lives together. And that is what I hope that we have been doing and will continue to do through these ancient sources. And the Shuso, Erica, I never quite know what to call the Shuso in our context. Head monk is, if we're all monks, we all are monks in the world. We're practitioners in the world. Erica is our head monk and shares my seat during this time. And I'm so much looking forward to hearing the Dharma as it comes through her after her many years of practice. So what we're going to do today is I want to, on Tuesday, I brought forward a koan about Bodhidharma, which over the years became one of my favorites and is used at San Francisco Zen Center in the context of practice period. At Everyday Zen, it is ordinary mind is the way, or everyday Zen is the way. And I want to bring that koan forward. So I'm going to share the koan, and then I've been having fun. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't fun. I've been having fun looking at the different commentaries, and I want to bring some of those forward. And then Eric and I are going to take turns. We did some on Tuesday, and we'll do some today. It's a tradition, both at Everyday Zen and here, to read aloud anonymously from different practice period applications about what you said when you applied for this practice period. It's always very moving to feel the depth of the practice, the years of practice, and everyone's intentions. So I am going to, we'll offer these as commentaries on the koans. These are your commentaries to what is freedom. These are your commentaries on may all beings be free. And I think this koan I'm about to share is also pointing. So here we go. This is Mumon Case 19. Nan Xuan's everyday mind is the way, which is a slightly different translation. Often it's found ordinary mind is the way. Zhao Zhou, a beloved teacher in our lineage, asked Nan Xuan, what is the way? Maybe you could just as easily say, what is the way of freedom? And Nanchuan said, everyday mind is the way. Zhao Zhou said, how should I direct myself towards it? Or we might ask, how can my practice express this? Nanchuan said, if you direct yourself toward it, you will be going in the wrong direction. And Zhao Zhou said, but if I don't direct myself toward it, how can I know it? Nanchuan said, the way has nothing to do with knowing and not knowing. Knowing is an exaggeration, not knowing is stupidity. Knowing is an exaggeration, not knowing is stupidity. When you enter the way, you see it as vast and boundless as space. What does this have to do with yes and no thinking? And Zhao Zhou suddenly realized Nanchuan's meaning for himself. Okay, here's some commentaries. I found this one online. I like to surf the Dharma online. This is from Susan Murphy Roshi, who's the founding teacher of Zen Open Circle in Sydney, Australia. Kind of nice to make us international too. Our natural mind is clear, simple, and ordinary. The practice of Zen meditation is simply to abandon anything extra. Then the ordinary reveals its magic. First, what Zen meditation, Zazen, is not, what our practice is not. It does not involve meticulous body scans nor rigorous examination of the contents of the mind. Nor is it a private entry into nirvana. This is not just for yourself. Zazen, our practice, our taking up the koan of freedom, is a deep study of the embodied mind. It is a meditation practice and a practice that fosters both gradual and sudden shifts of radical insight into the genuine nature of mind. It is typically startling yet low-key undoing of expectations. It is about undoing and letting go of expectations. Zen often calls this clear and most natural experience ordinary mind or everyday Zen mind. In Zazen, ordinary things, ordinary, everyday things, grow both plainer and stranger, and I would say more poignant and beautiful all at once. This ordinary does not mean ho-hum or customary. It means as ordinary as the way a bee softly bothers the flowers, as ordinary as waves welling and sucking back over rocks, as ordinary and unlikely as the overwhelming fact of the universe, of breathing in and out, of having a boundless consciousness that seems also to have a name and history and mortal body. Ordinary means to be with what is. Everyday mind, freedom is to be with what is. Freely moving with unfolding circumstances and at rest everywhere like a leaf in the breeze. Zazen, which literally means meditation, and I would say Zazen body, living Zazen body, is a focused investigation of the nature of self. But as Dogen said, to study the self is to forget the self. All fixed ideas and sense of self become forgotten. In other words, softened, dissolved, dropped away, expanded to include all that is. Softened, dissolved, dropped away, expanded to include all that is. This is done not by directing yourself towards something special, but by subtly abandoning anything that resists the simplicity of just being, just sitting, just breathing, just alive. It begins in grounding the mind deep in the body and breath, just as they are. Simple? Yes. And yet it takes all that we are and many years of practice to truly experience and maintain. I thought that was nice. I think that's a beautiful commentary. Here's another one. Dogen. The translation seems to be by Reverend Kodo Takeuchi. It's from Dogen's Shobogenzu Butsu Kojoji, The Matter of Going Beyond Buddha. It's his commentary on ordinary, everyday mind is the way. This is to say, the ordinary mind of the world is the way. To study the ordinary mind of the world is most delicate. With regard to the body, with regard to the mind, at all times we must study it as the ordinariness of the world. There must not be the slightest defilement or forceful endeavoring toward a goal. It's delicate. It's subtle. It's also fiercely strong and grounded. But so what is this? Not pushing towards, not backing away, just awake and alive. And a couple more short ones. I got carried away. This one is from, and we'll use this again, the True Dharma Eye, Zen Master Dogen's 300 Koans. It's commentaries by Daido Lori Roshi and Kaz Tanahashi. Ordinary mind is perfect and complete. As Suzuki Roshi said, you're perfect just as you are, and you could use a little improvement. It is self-contained, self-fulfilling, and is its own accomplishment. Since it existed before the kalpas of emptiness, since it's existed forever, you can't find a beginning and an end. It can't be attained. It's already here. You are already it. Everything is already it. That's what we're waking up to. And since it transcends time and space, it is always in the eternal present. This ordinary everyday mind is the Dharma of each moment of existence. It is each moment of existence. It has no before or after. The capping verse. There are things called capping verses. The enlightened and the deluded all live in its presence. In other words, you can't miss it. You can't think, well, I had it a minute ago because I felt great and now I feel awful, so I had it and I lost it. Where did it go? We all live in its presence. Move toward it and the sickness is increased. Anything you try to do, you're going to do out of your karmic impulses, and you have to try to do something. Talk about a koan. If you try to describe it and say what you thought you got, the minute you do it, you've already missed it. How do we live? How do we live freely in this paradox? And one other, The Gateless Barrier, the Mumonkan Khan, Robert Aiken's commentary. C.Y. Chang quotes an old Zen poem in connection with this case. Here's the poem. What our eyes see is ordinary. What our eyes see. It does not frighten people. It just looks ordinary. But it always remains like the moonlight on the chilled window, and even at midnight it shines on the thatched cottages. What is it? This constant ordinary is not the commonplace mind of self-centered preoccupation. Selfish conduct, speech, and thought obscure the vast moonlit mind of Nanchuan. Nanchuan is pointing to transformation here. Standing up before realization is the same as standing up after, yet they are not the same. We are in search of intimacy with vast emptiness. And in asking, how shall I direct myself towards it? How can I practice in this delicate, subtle dance of awake alive? He asks, in essence, how should I practice? Because Dogen says, realization is practice realization, continuous practice. There is no realization outside of practice and alive. Okay, so that's my segue into, now, I'm going to read to you your practice vows and intentions and focus. This is the way, and you are completely perfect. And we can all use a little improvement, so we'll all just keep practicing and encouraging each other. And if you didn't, by chance, if you don't hear your own application, it might have been read. I'm going to read some, then Erica's going to read some. There were some on Tuesday, and if you're not in any of these, ask yourself, what is your intention and your focus in this time? Not just in practice period, but this time on the earth. Because we know these are very beautiful fall days, and we also know that there is suffering and COVID and climate change and injustice. How do we practice? Okay, what is your intention? What is your commitment to join this practice period? I intend to deepen my engagement with the Sangha, to learn from bodhisattvas, to experience the joyful effort of Sangha sitting and Sangha study. What is your focus? The paramitas of generosity. Generosity is freedom, generosity everywhere. I'm exploring the felt connection between generosity, vulnerability, and freedom. How different are they? Your commitment? This might sound vague, but it feels very specific and focused to me. I commit to devoting Zazen practice to the study of generosity. I have an intuition that sitting with generosity will really help me on the bodhisattva path of the cushion. Not my Zazen body, but generosity of no self Zazen body. Everybody's Zazen body receiving, giving. Sounds kind of delicate, subtle. What intention brings you? Sitting and studying the Dharma are the most nourishing and sustaining things I do day in and day out. I simply wish to deepen my practice and to find ways to simplify my life to support this core commitment. What intention brings you in? Freedom. I experience refuge and peace in Dharma Heart Zen Sangha. What experience have you had with practice and with this Sangha? Regular sitting for 10 years of Vipassana, 14 years with Lotus Sangha and Dharma Heart Sangha, and I have never missed a practice period. What is your focus? Sitting in the mornings with the sitting that Debbie and Joni offer? Zoom with Sangha, reading Dharma, occasionally listening to Dharma talks? What do you think might change during this practice period? I'm expecting to relax into the time that I set aside for practice. Excuse me. And to let go of those nagging thoughts that I should be doing something else. I mean, really, what else is there? We have such wise bodhisattvas here. Your commitment, more rest, more solitude, an emptier schedule equals a stronger container for more practice. I commit to working less during this time. I commit to more creative practice during this time. Others have said that. Creativity. Your intention to swim in the intimacy of Sangha and to sew on my rakusu. How do you think things will change during your practice period? I will sew on my rakusu. Someone getting ready to take formal vows. Your intention. I want to deepen my connection to Sangha and to meditation practice. I have been feeling separate and disconnected. I want to renew my awareness that we are all connected, that I am not separate. She says here what she wrote about her rakusu when she took vows in 2015. I love wearing it, and as it covers my heart, I feel a sense of protection and care. I think that's quality of deep vow, deep life. And I have one more, and then I'll hand it to Erica. Your intention to deepen my meditation practice on and off the cushion. Changes? Seems like continuation to me. I'm open to discovery. And I am working on the end of life, death, prayers, rituals, and hope to complete this by the end of the practice period. Erica, please. Other commentaries on the koan of freedom.
I'd just like to say welcome to Deborah. Hi, Deborah. So good to see you here.
Oh,
Old friend. So here are some practice period things. So I am joining, person is also in the Everyday Zen practice period. She says, I am joining the Dharma Heart practice period to support the Sangha. My daily practice is with loving kindness meditation and sharing it with others. What intention brings you to this practice period? I just went through the high holy day practice and entered the new year on the Jewish calendar, appreciating the coincident practice tradition of the Zen fall practice period, taking heart in the process of renewal, recommitting to developing selflessness and practice and service as a bodhisattva. I love ceremony, ritual, chanting, and don't know anything about koan practice. What I imagine might change is I hope to discover something about koan practice and become more comfortable with Zen chants and ritual. In my daily life, I am a full-time caregiver for my wife, and my 93-year-old father is also developing dementia and may be beginning the final chapter. I feel very mixed about it. Life is challenging, and we are practicing finding pleasant groundlessness. And thanks, Chris, for introducing that phrase of pleasant groundlessness into the Sangha. My intention is to continue to deepen my practice. I am drawn to turning the wheel to deeply explore my relation of karma and dharma. How do my actions and inactions affect my own personal experience and that of others? Where am I stuck? Where do I still harbor jealousy, competition, greed, hate, and delusion? Who is my authentic self? Just simple stuff like that. Your daily life situation. My lung condition makes it difficult for me to care for my family and do routine activities. It's greatly influenced my practice. I hope to learn more adaptation ways with my illness and practice. I imagine it changing the flexibility to adapt to new ways of practice with chronic illness, aging, and life changes. What intention brings you to practice period? I want to be part of practice period because it's always an adventure, and I love my Sangha members. Your current focus? I'm learning to take the backward step and really to try to see what's in front of me and what is the reality of things instead of the stories I tell myself. What intention brings you to practice? What intention do you make? What commitment do you make? Health permitting, I plan to wholeheartedly commit to the program, to give it my all. What is the focus of your current practice? Death and dying. The focus of my practice is to be more kind and gentle to myself when past regrets come up. I want to be kinder to myself. I look forward to deepening my practice through the practice period every year, through more sitting with Sangha members, talking with my practice partner, personal commitments, sitting together as we move into these colder, darker seasons. During the lockdown, I truly needed the connection with both Sanghas and came to trust them through all our breakout conversations as we bared our hearts to each other. I'm in a continuous state of learning and practicing new chants, which always inspire me. And I feel very safe on my Zafu and with our Sanghas. My intention, I want to continue deepening and expanding my practice, continue my aspiration toward every minute Zen. So honored to be part of the Sangha.
Thank you, Erica, and thank you, everyone. I hope you are inspired as I am. Just ordinary, everyday, nothing special Bodhisattva practice.